Welcome to the Suited Up Podcast, a podcast that dives into the real, raw stories of some of your favorite former collegiate and professional athletes as they tell their emotional and difficult transition from their athletic career into the business world. And I'm your host, Scott Radcliff. Welcome back, everybody. Really excited about this episode here of Suited Up. I've got Caitlin Welsh Freudenberger here with me. A little quick background about Caitlin. She is on my real estate team, the Scott Radcliff real estate team at RE/MAX Premier Property, so I know her well. I've known Caitlin. We had some mutual friends running around in high school and stuff like that in college, so we've always been around each other here and there. So I'm excited to really dive into your full story growing up. Even getting a little bit in high school, we took you to the University of Louisville where you played volleyball, where Caitlin was a 4-year starter at libero. And I could probably rattle off all of her accolades. I mean, but she was going through them before, and I couldn't even write them all down. But you got to tell the listeners, you're a humbled person, so you don't like to, but at least give them the accolades that you said. You still hold the record for most digs in the game, most digs in a season.
Yep, most digs in a match, season, and then all career digs leader.
And for the University of Louisville.
Yep.
That's and as you've seen, the University of Louisville has had a very good storied program, especially over the last couple of years. But
absolutely. I mean, records are meant to be broken, so I hope that current libero, Elena Scott, can do some work.
You think so?
I hope so. If anyone's going to do it, I hope it's her. But. Yeah. I'll take it while it's still there.
Is she from Louisville too?
She is, yeah. I had the opportunity to coach her for 4 total years and throughout club and high school. So
that would be cool because then you would still get a little. I coached her a little bit.
I did,
too.
yeah. Like I taught her to do that. No, but I mean, it's humbling to know, and I still hold them close to my heart. So
I reached out to Caitlin back. And we both got into real estate in 2016 or so.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And I reached out to her a few years later when I was getting ready to join a team or to create a team. And we didn't know each other extremely well, but what I did know about you was, that you're not, it's kind of like me. I'm not a huge, athlete.
Right.
And, in volleyball, I know you're a libero, which, you would think you don't necessarily need height, but even in college, don't they kind of prefer you to be a little taller in
I think times have changed a little bit.
Okay.
Now you're probably looking at 5'8", 5'9" for your top programs.
Yeah.
But still back then, I was competing with those 5'8", 5'9" girls, and obviously you can't really teach height, but at the same time, I think it's the hard work that's right really gets noticed.
And that's exactly why I sat down with you a couple of years ago. I was like, God, she's got to be a hard worker. I mean, I saw you play. I was a volleyball. I played volleyball in high school, so I would watch you all play when we were there at U of L and whatnot, and the passion that you all had. And so she said she turned me down once and said, "No, I'm gonna do my own thing." And
twice.
Then, I was getting to that, and then I brought her back, and I was like, "All right, let's do this time." Laid everything out. She turns me down again.
I did.
Oh man! So the team starts to grow a little bit, and get on my feet with the team. And then finally, after she was talking to somebody else in the office, we did get back together and meet. And after some more convincing, I guess I honed my pitching a little bit better. Got her to join, and absolutely been killing it since. And we'll dive into your current career and what we're seeing now in just a little bit, but I want to hear from you. The listeners probably want to hear from you on, who are you? Where are you from? What'd you do growing up? Lifestyle, and what took you to the University of Louisville? All that good stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. So originally, I was born in Louisiana, but that doesn't matter. I'm originally from Louisville. Been here my whole life. It's pretty much all I know. In regards to sports, I started putting my hands on a volleyball, I think, when I was 6 years old. So it's been pretty much all I know. I played other sports, but just wasn't the same. Started to get involved into the club aspect of things and travel ball around 10 years old. Got to the point to, my parents tried me out. I tried out for the 10-year-old team, and then the 12-1 team coach started calling my mom, and they're like, "We want Caitlin to be on our team." And I remember exactly where I was, and they were like, "Well, let's talk to Caitlin it didn't take me 5 seconds to say yes, like, yeah, Mom, I want to do it. Like, put me on the 12-year-old team.
Which most kids would shy away. They'd be like, that's
absolutely
kind of too much. Not you. I know you personally.
No, I was like, I'm all for it. Like, this is what I want to do. So, talent-wise, it's where I belonged. I think you tend to compare to 12-year-olds. It was a little tough. Yeah. You had those kids that would kind of bully you, and I was just like, forget it. Like,
your short
fine.
stuff.
Yeah, like whatever. Like my actions will prove everything else, and I think that's kind of what I believe in from 10 years old to now at 27, 28. So I went throughout club, and around 16, 17 years old, started getting recruited, and I was like, holy crap, what is this? Like, what is happening? You get it, the recruiting process. I didn't get recruited like you did.
Well, not like you did. No, I did have some here and there, like,
but you get it.
Levels.
It was competitive.
It
was competitive. And so I had some options, and nothing really just compared to that hometown feel, So it's funny, actually, as soon as Kentucky started recruiting me, Louisville was like, hell no.
Yeah,
like,
good.
She's ours. So
good.
Yeah, it felt really good. And then, like you said, it started off right away, 4-year starter, and went through some stuff. Like, it wasn't as easy as everyone thinks. It's not just get recruited, say yes and have a free ride. Like, it's just, it's not. It takes a lot of hard work, and you kind of have to step back and remember why you started doing this in the beginning. My freshman year, the coach that had recruited me was there, and then sophomore year told us he was leaving to go elsewhere. It was tough, but at the same time, again, I stepped back and said, did I come here for him or did I come here for me, right? Yeah. So again, that's what I did. A new coach came along. There were some struggles. It wasn't easy. Came close to kind of almost stepping away from the entire career.
Your junior year or so?
I'd say going at like spring of sophomore year.
Really?
Yeah, it was super tough. Just a lot of change, I'd say. Like, change just wasn't easy at that point in time. And really just managing everything. Like, as a student athlete, you're managing a lot. It's not just go and play the sport you love. It's managing your academics, and that wasn't easy at first. Like, time management, I like to say I was a little prepared, like doing it all around before college, but I don't think anything really prepares you for the student athlete world, And then relationship, I met who my husband is now, like at freshman year, and managing that, like, it just wasn't easy. It was a lot of pressure.
Having a social life,
well, there was no social life. You tried to, you tried to, but
well, I always say there's three things to the college athlete lifestyle. It's the sport, it's school, and it's the social life. Mm-hmm. And besides, of course, maybe there's few that here and there that are just amazing at all. You usually get to choose two.
Yeah.
And for me, especially this first year or two, I've got to admit, I definitely chose the sport and social over the school. I had a coaching change like you did after my freshman year, and we got Coach Charlie Strong came in, and that was a walk-on who actually played my freshman year. So they brought everybody in, and then they brought just the walk-ons in, and I'm sitting there thinking like I'm hot shit, right? I'm there, I'm like, all these other walk-ons who've never seen the field, won't ever see the field. I'm like, I'm about to get a scholarship, you guys. And he walked in and he was like talking, here's your role. You're basically a hitting dummy. You're here to get good grades. And then, we tell you what to do, you do it. And then he looks at me, and I didn't think he knew my name. And he was just like, and you Radcliffe, you mother... I'm not even going to say it. And I was like, my eyes lit up, and he was like, he's like, you got one of the worst GPAs on the team. And I'm like, oh my gosh. He's like, you don't get your act straight. You are, and I needed it.
Yeah.
I was young.
Yeah.
Just gotten, into the real world. And football is what I'm trying to remember. Volleyball is spring.
Fall.
It's fall. Okay.
Yeah.
My apologies.
As athletes, we say spring because that's the hardest time, right? Your off season is basically way harder than in season.
So it's, you like me, you get in and all of a sudden you're thrust into the sport immediately in your first fall semester and school. And I chose wrong. I had to make up for it, of course, but eye-opening there. So it's funny you talked about all that. Those three.
It is and it's, they say student athlete, and obviously like in your mind, you're like, okay, like you got to get good grades. Like you've got to keep this up. But when you put everything else together and essentially you committed to that school to play that sport, you're like, well, how do you do this? Like, and you have all those resources, right? Like, I'm not going to say we weren't spoiled because we were. Like, especially looking back on it now. Yeah, like absolutely. You have free tutors and free people to go to, and it's just, looking back on it, I think it really took me to like step back and say, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Like, why did you make the decision to do this? Why did you even start playing in the first place? And it was for me. Like, obviously, you know, my family had a lot to do with it, and playing for my parents and everything they put into it, and the fans and all of that. But at the end of the day, like, you kind of have to put yourself first at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did that, and, you know, I questioned it. I was just like, is it worth like going through all of this, because I put all of this work into it? And it really was like time to go to work.
Was it a schematic thing, like change of like scheme that you all were running, or was it more, which I know volleyball doesn't, I mean.
Well, yes, sort of. I think there were some coaches there that essentially it was like, thank God I had them, you know, like behind, because they kind of balanced it out for me. And to this day, I'm still super close with that coach, Lee Mays. But at the end of the day, I think it was just change overall in general. Like, it was just a whole lot of change and respect from both coach and player. Just wasn't there other than with the other coaches. But again, those other coaches aren't your head coach. Yeah. You know, so yeah, it really just took like, is it doing it for you worth it? You know? And at the end of the day, it was like, I didn't go put in all this work, all of these years for me to just walk out. Like, and that's just not who I am. Like, I don't give up.
And that's just I mean, we keep on talking about how, we've got the tutors, and we've got, you know, you want a Gatorade, you get it. Like, you want this, you got it. You know, and then we get to pick first for our classing schedule and all these things that people on the outside see. But then you kind of have to realize, like, you were 18 years old, 19 years old, and you're making these decisions that are life changing, huge decisions that some don't ever make in their entire life. Right. And you're making those at 18, 19, and I will, you know, clear as we know now, you've made the right one by stepping back, looking at it. And that's kind of what we do now in our professional lives and our social lives and our real lives as well. As, you know, as you're a mother, so, you know, you all the time, you know, being a parent is, you got to take a step back and be like, did I have a good day with my kid, or should I not have yelled at him for that?
And it's so funny. Like, I was talking to Zach Pitts the other day, and we were just talking about life, and I was like, you know, it's so funny. Like, literally every little thing you do, whether it's real estate, life, or anything, like, it all goes back to sports. Yeah. It's wild. I mean, it's just, and you really don't understand it until you're out of it and you've been through it. And I was telling, he kind of went through the same thing. And I was like, if it wasn't for this change, you know, like, no way would I be the person that I am, and like look back and like analyze everything differently, you know?
And just what you said there is a great segue, because you said, you know, everything that you know, we're taught in sports, it relates to life. And that's everything. And that's what I try to harp on to those athletes that are getting, or currently athletes right now, not done with their career, or kind of phasing into that transition, or have been out of the athletic world for a while, is you've got to revert back to those teachings, because that's the only thing that got me through it was, you know, discipline and critiquing yourself and running mental film in your head of, not even just anything about sports anymore, but about, I woke up at 10 a.m. If I want to get my life together, I got to wake up at 7. I can't sleep in. I can't stay up late. You've got to eat better, work out, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important to know that, you know, for those current student athletes, like, it's okay to question something, you know, and it's okay to just step back and ask yourself, like, is this where I'm supposed to be? Or, you know, is it worth it? Like, it's not, because it's really not all fun and games, you know, like there's a lot to carry on as a D1 athlete, or just any athlete, student athlete. So yeah, I went in with some struggles and overcame those struggles and broke records and finished my last year's as 2-time All-American. And I think from there, that's kind of where it was like, okay, where do I go from here? Yeah. You know, like it was just like, what do I do? Because originally I wanted to go into nursing. Yeah, that's right. And that just, you know, coaching didn't allow that. So I just didn't. And I was just like, you know what, I'll find something else that's, you know, strong believer. And if it doesn't happen, it just wasn't meant to be. Yeah. So that was not meant to be for me. And I think that's evident in knowing where I'm at now.
It is nice, you know, being, and we've had success. We're not successful. I don't think it'll ever stop until you're done with that. Like, you know, that sport, you can say now, at least I can say it, you're probably too humble, but how could you not? You were successful in volleyball. Right. But now where we are in life, we've had some success, but looking back, you know, it's easy to say, okay, well, me not being a nurse is okay now.
Is okay.
But
absolutely.
when you're going through the transition to find where you were, it probably what you couldn't tell yourself that, because you're probably still questioning.
Yeah. And so. I'd even say, like, after college, going into sales, because I was just like, I'll do sales because I'm good at talking. Like that was basically my fall on, and I was good at it. Like I was succeeding at it. So I was like, well, I guess this is where I'm supposed to be. Again, questioning yourself at like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And then had somebody reach out saying you'd be so good at real estate. So I got my license, worked it part-time, and again, was naive to the fact why probably I turned you down 3 different times. Really just naive to the fact of like the whole no salary thing. Like a guaranteed salary looked a lot better than all commission, right? So I had to grow up a little bit. And even within that, I still went back to nursing. I was like, I feel like I'm supposed to do nursing, but it was just a lot of unknown.
Yeah.
So was I prepared after college? Absolutely not. But I think the journey that I went on was supposed to be the journey that I did.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, especially once again, working with you and seeing what you've been doing just this past year or so, I'm like, yeah, she's where she needs to be.
Yeah, and I think a lot of my success that I've had since I've been on your team is, comes from that sales experience, honestly. I mean, like, no, I wasn't enjoy doing it. I didn't enjoy the whole 9 to 5 job. I say that I work like 7 to 7 now. But
yeah, but it's different, right?
It's totally
I
different.
agree. I always tell people about real estate is I work more than I ever have, but I feel like I don't.
I don't. Yeah, and that's exactly. I was talking to my husband the other night, and it was like he had somebody come into his business, and he really got like sick to his stomach when he felt like he had to get up at 8 a.m. and be somewhere, right? Like, do you just get that sick feeling in your stomach on Sunday nights? And, and that's exactly what I did. And my husband Austin was the same way. And I don't feel that anymore. Like, I feel like Sunday's a Friday, or at this point, I don't even know what day of the week it is, because it's constant and I enjoy it.
And you get to going to bed. You're not
fun.
fearing the next day.
No, not at all. And I'm working until I'm on my laptop until 10:30, 11. Like, I couldn't even tell you when I did that when I was in sales for 6 years. Like,
let's give a shout out to Austin real quick. Tell everybody listening, if you're here local in Louisville listening.
Yeah, if you're local, head on to Smash Lab Louisville, Louisville's only rage room.
Yeah.
And
now, what is a rage room? What do y'all do there? I know, but
I mean, you basically just smash it. Like, we provide the items, we provide glass, we provide electronics. You pay by the package. We have different packages. We also have a splash room where you do a lot of birthday parties for kids. It's essentially the same scenario, but with paint.
That's neat.
Yeah, so it's a lot of fun. I mean, we had a lot of different people come in, and you could use it as therapy. We can't say it's therapy, obviously, but
it does help to smash some shit when you're mad, though. I'll tell you.
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, like, we shut down during COVID for a few months, but COVID was a blessing in disguise for us, because I think people are still just pissed off. Yeah. So Smash Lab Louisville, right off Bluegrass Parkway.
Cool. And then also people can take some of their junk if they want to get rid of it to you.
Absolutely.
All right?
We take donations, glass, electronics, anything that's like your cube TVs, those have chemicals in it, nothing like that. But your flat screens, different things like that. Yeah, we'll take anything.
I've got my garage full of stuff, so
bring it.
Me and Lisa will probably drop it off at some point soon.
Well, you could also do like a bring your own package if you want to use it to smash.
So we can just show up with some of our stuff and just we might have to do that.
Yeah.
That's good couples. I'm not going to say the word.
Right.
Well, I'll say it, therapy with quotations.
Right? Yeah.
But,
and there's still a price to it, but it's cheaper.
Of course.
I'd say that.
That's neat. Neat. Okay, so let's spin back here to you've had a successful career, and in sports, you kind of made me think about this in this way. In sports, you have an end goal in sight, right? And in life, your end goal, it can be very vague. Your end goal can be like, hey, I want to be able to retire when I'm 45. By the time I'm 45 years old, have passive income, do whatever. I want to be happy. I want to have a family. It's kind of vague. Mm-hmm. In sports, it's, okay, I want to work really hard. I want to go to the University of Louisville. And then, so that's specific. Then it's like, okay, I want to win these championships. Those are specific. Absolutely. And what do I need to do to those specific goals? When you get in life, it's, do I want to be a nurse? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do sales? And then even when you're doing sales, and then maybe you're not happy there, then you're like, do I go back to, there's not a specific insight until you can really figure it out.
Yeah.
And I know honestly, if you chose nursing, you would have killed it there too. I know that for a fact.
Yeah. But thank God I'm not a nurse.
Especially in today's climate.
Right.
But so shout out to the nurses and all those
healthcare
doctors and all that stuff. But so you have a successful career individually and team wise. And then tell me about like when it kind of hit you? For me, it was like the very next day we got off the plane from the Sugar Bowl. It was like, boom, okay,
Yeah.
go get a job. And I was like, I am not ready. I don't know where to go.
I'd say the same. I think the day after my season ended, the drive home probably, it was just, what do I do tomorrow? Like, you know, because you have that waiting period, and then it's like 3 months are in, and I'm like, oh, I guess I should start looking at jobs. And then it's like, well, how do I do that?
Yeah.
Like, really, you start to question, like, how do you even look at jobs? Because they don't, I'd say, yeah, some classes probably did that. They teach you how to make a resume for sure. But I mean, that's it, you know? And I was just, you really question like what you want to do unless you really have like a set goal in mind of who you want to be, like nursing or something like that. But, and then I took off probably 6-7 months because never in my entire life, my parents were really big on, if you want to do volleyball, you go volleyball. And it was all year round. So I never had a job.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it was just school and volleyball.
Yeah.
And now it was just neither.
Yeah.
So it was, you really questioned, like, you go through a lot afterwards. It's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
And if I could give any advice to those student athletes out there, like, be okay with just stepping back and saying, am I where I want to be, and where do I want to be, you know, in future, just to prepare yourself for that.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's like, okay, next day, what do you do? And I was like, I don't know, I was going to sit on the couch and eat ice cream and watch ESPN
no shit.
all
Like,
day
that's
long.
like, that's exactly, like, you literally just sit there, and then it didn't even take my parents, because you live with your parents and save money and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It didn't take them to like say, okay, get a job. It was just like, you know, they kind of trusted that I was mature enough to know like where I needed to be and where I was supposed to go. And someone was like, you should, my brother-in-law actually, Blake Freudenberger, you played with Blake, I think. Yeah. Was like, someone reached out to me for this job. It was ADP.
Is that where you started? Was it sales
ADP?
and ADP?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, okay. So I started out there, and that's kind of where my sales career took me.
Did you ever have a desk, like a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 5 or what?
Ish. I mean, it was all outside sales, right?
ADP
But I mean, you couldn't just stay home and do your thing. You know, like you had a lot of, I mean, that's another thing. Like you never really had people micromanaging you in college. And I was I was against micromanaging. Like I just didn't like it. It steered me away. I was just like, don't do it. Like
I'm taking mental notes. Not that I'm
like don't You're right. Right. You don't. You do a good job. You're right. I stepped back, and I was just, again, it took probably 5-6 years because I realized I was good at it. So when you're good at something, it's hard to step away, right? I mean, you don't want to, you're like, okay, I'm getting a good salary. I'm making good commission along with my salary. Like, and I'm just good at talking to people and building those relationships. So it was going well. And family aspect of things, Austin was kind of going through some job changes. So it's what we needed. But as soon as Austin realized what he wanted to do and started Smash Lab, I think that's basically when I reached out to you. Yeah. And I was like, all right, I'm ready to do this full time. And I truly can't say that. I think as soon as I joined your team, that's when I realized, like, this is where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. And that was only a year and a half ago. Well, a year ago, right? Yeah. It was a year ago.
Yeah, it was just about a year ago.
It was about a year ago, June, I think.
You didn't have a full,
no. So and I got to shout out to Zach, because thank God Austin had that conversation with Zach Pitts, or else I would have never reached back out to you. But again, strong believer in everything happens for a reason. Like those 6 years of sales and the struggles I went through at Louisville, with the change and how to operate with change and things like that. Like I would have never been where I am now without those.
And that's huge when we just talk specifically about real estate. So those listening that maybe think real estate's sales, I mean, of course there's investing. There's so many different things that you can do in real estate, but what you and I specifically do, and some realtors do it a little bit differently as well, but mainly sales. Yeah. And to adjust and pivot, and because the market is constantly changing.
Absolutely.
The apps, the lead generation sources, the clientele, there's so much that shifts and changes. And every specific house is different. Every certain circumstance is different. Yeah. And, being able to adapt on your feet quickly.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think adapting is big, because growing up, I was a very big planner. I would plan out my week. I had to know where to be at an exact time, like organization. And again, that's a very important skill to have in life in general, but in real estate specifically, you cannot plan. I mean, you plan, but you're not, like, something's changing by the second every single day. And I think adapting to that has helped my perspective on life in general. Like it's okay to have a quick change in life or a quick cancellation, whatever it may be, like whatever comes up, and it happens. Like it happens all the time. Like adapt to it. It happens for a reason, right?
I will say you are one of the most organized realtors that I know. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of them out there, but specifically, it's because it's tough to be organized. You carry around your planner all the time and all that kind of stuff. And it's my first thing when I left Jay Pitt's team. I was like, I'm getting an admin because I know what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. And organization wasn't my strong suit, so I hired somebody to do that for me and whatnot. But I got to give a shout out to you. I mean, you keep your stuff in order, and that's clearly why you're hitting the numbers you're hitting this year. And we're gonna get some big goals out of you.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So, yeah. Okay, so as far as let's just talk about real estate once again. Someone's interested in real estate. I always talk about like the void, and it's maybe like an identity crisis thing. Let's stay away from real estate to start. Let's go back to the identity crisis. Did you feel like you had that at all? Like, did you who
absolutely? I'd say because being a hometown person and having those little kids look up to you and knowing who you are, I'd say it's still a little bit there, but it starts to fade for sure. As soon as people, just as good or better than you come in, it's like you're no longer their go-to or person. And it's kind of cool. I coached volleyball for a few years and had girls send me texts of like pictures of me with them and when they were like 4.
Well, Dawson. So Dawson on our team, he's right now he's deployed. He's overseas. Shout out to Dawson and our military and everything. But he's on our team, and he posted in our little
with a picture of you.
Yeah, he's like 9-10 years old. I'm in my U of L jersey. And and now he's on our team.
Yeah, but you definitely lose it, and then you're like, the moment you lose it, you're like, well, who are you now? You really do question like, who's looking up to me? Yeah. And I think I was driving the other day, again, going back to real estate. I was like, I finally feel like I am something to someone.
Good.
So it's pretty awesome. It's a good feeling for sure.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
For sure. So then you had a little bit of that kind of go on and whatnot, but what do you think real estate, because you said you feel like you're good now.
Yeah.
Real estate helped you get that. Not that real estate is not saying, hey, if you're an athlete, go get your real estate license, because there's different. Like we talked, I talked to Doug Beaumont in one of the first episodes, and he's talking about a hometown person, and a lot of people looked up to Doug Beaumont, knew his name, and he was working for I think Nabisco or somewhere else, and he was stocking shelves for the company, and someone walked over and was like, "Oh, that's what you do now?" Yeah, and like a huge shock to his ego was like, "Oh crap, like I got to get out of Louisville. If I'm going to figure out what I want to do, I can't do it here because everyone expects me to be Doug Beaumont." And same, maybe if you're feeling the same way.
Yeah, and people always, they're interested in where you are now, right? Yeah. Like those fans are still wondering like what you're doing, and how you're building a life for yourself. And you get the question all the time, what do you do now? Oh, I'm in outside sales. Yeah. And you feel like that's just the norm for those student athletes to go to. Like, oh, outside sales, nothing special, but now I can fully, like I say, I'm a full-time realtor. And they're like, oh, really? It starts that peak and that interest. And then the conversation after that, how's the market? And then you just start talking about it. And you can hold a conversation for freaking 30 minutes just talking about like the market these days, it's, I don't know. It's just it's a different feeling. It's hard to explain unless you've like been through it, but it's, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it's, a bit, because although you're on my team, for every listener, although Caitlin's on my team, she is her own boss. She is an entrepreneur. Like I don't, like she's 1099. She works for her. All I'm basically here to do is help support, answer some calls and questions as she has them, and those calls are coming less and less as she's getting more and more experienced out there, and just provide tools and resources and stuff like that to her. But everything, it's all you. So like, do you think that's because you're your own business owner? Do you think that helps fill that void?
Absolutely.
It's you?
Absolutely. I think, because I'm in control of my destiny essentially. Yeah. Right. Like of my success. And obviously you have people that contribute to that and resources, but I am my own boss. I run my own business, and what fails is because of me, and what succeeds is because of me. Yeah. And I think I take that to heart. And again, it all goes back to sports. Yeah. Like really, leadership skills, accountability, time management. Like you need all of those to have a successful business. Yeah. And I think I'd carry those traits.
I'd say so. So if you're in the Louisville area and you want to support a former athlete, reach out to Caitlin for housing, to sell, buy, invest in houses for
absolutely.
sure.
I'll go ahead and share my cell phone on here. Text me 502-724-5727. I'd love to help you guys out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's pivot outside of just real estate specifically, because this is a big topic I try and cover with a few people just to get their opinion on it. Is NIL stuff, NIL deals. I want to hear, because I know a little about football and not knocking down volleyball by any means.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's my favorite sport to play. It always has been.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
But when you look at the grand scheme of things, basketball and football typically take over.
Yep.
So how is it looking NIL wise and like in the world of women's volleyball?
Yeah, I think it's growing.
Yeah.
Honestly. I don't know how to compare to like with women's basketball or anything like that, because you can't really compare the female to male. Like it's just different. I mean, I'm not going to be afraid to say it. Like it's different.
Well, there is that one. I know that, I always forget her name. I should remember it on here because she kills it.
Haley.
The basketball
Van
player.
Lith?
Yes.
Haley,
I mean, she's doing well with her NIL
Crazy.
deals, right?
Yeah. She was well known prior to coming in here too. Like her Instagram followers are 50 times the amount of mine. But I think that helps. And I think, going to Instagram, social media in this generation is just wild. It's something that we didn't have when we played.
True.
And we didn't. I think I created my Instagram my senior year when I played for USA, like the collegiate team. Like that was, and I was like, oh, Instagram, woo. You know, like the players had to make me one or something.
Yeah.
But I think that's what really carries this. I mean, it's pretty cool to see and watch.
I remember when Instagram started, I was like, so you're telling me it's Facebook, just pictures?
Yeah,
I was like, what about everything
exactly
else?
What I did. Yeah, I was like, what is this? Like, why are we doing that?
Why would I can post more on Facebook. Why would I just do it? And clearly, it's much different now. But you're right. I mean, it's Instagram and all the social media sites are huge for those players. And I'm assuming that, just like that girl who played at U of L, Haley, right? That there's opportunity there for even the volleyball players and
oh, for sure. Yeah, I think it depends on, and again, I think the players get to choose that, right? I mean,
if you got that personality, then you're not going to go out.
Yeah, and if like you're not wanting to post, but I mean, I know Elena has some NIL deals. I know Anna DeBeer has some. I'm talking like Louisville specifically.
Yeah.
But they also have those resources that, I think there's a company, who's the guy, that represents them essentially in NIL deals.
You know Rocco?
Yeah, I think so.
Media coordinator?
Yeah. So they help. Yeah, like he helps and different things like that. So I think, but those are resources we didn't have.
That's a whole different world.
It's so crazy. But I'm all for it. I think.
I'm too.
Yeah, I think it's great. Student athletes deserve that kind of recognition for sure.
I agree. And I don't ever hate watching the NCAA quiver a little bit because I started as a walk-on. You had to, so I guess you all got meals and stuff after your practices.
Oh yeah, pregame, all that.
Yeah. Well, as walk-ons, we weren't allowed to then. Well, we would literally finish practice and then we would
see you later.
Just like go have to get our own.
Dang, I didn't know that.
Yeah, everyone on scholarship would go upstairs and eat. We couldn't even go upstairs, and then
that's crazy.
If you were lucky enough, what you would do is you'd wait, and you had to wait till all the scholarship players were done, and if there were scraps left over, you could have them.
That's crazy.
So it's just it's
different now though.
It is. They changed the rule, I think, a few years after I got out.
Yeah.
So I got put on scholarship my last 2 years, so I got to go up to the big
deserved.
Leagues and eat.
Well deserved. Well deserved. Yeah, and that's another thing. I think, going into the student athlete world in college, like just because you can vouch for it, going in as a walk-on doesn't really mean anything, and who people recruit, like that coach change, she had planned on a pretty good a decent person, a player coming in to take over that pro spot, and I was just like,
not a chance.
No, so I think just you can question things and adapt to change and different things like that, but at the end of the day, like you've got to understand your purpose.
Yeah.
And that goes back to sports and life and different things like that. If there's no purpose, it's not supposed to be happening.
Yeah. So what would you, of course, beyond, just reverting back to your lessons that you were taught in sports, what would you give any advice to, let's start off with the current athlete, someone who's right now playing that in a year or even 4 more years is going to get out of the game, what should they be doing now? What kind of advice would you give them while they're in school and while they're playing? As far as setting themselves up for the
right.
next
I
stage.
think first and foremost, like understand where you want to go. And that's just it, both in sports and academics. I majored in sports administration because it was an easy major.
Same here.
I mean, honestly, so I think the biggest advice is like, don't be afraid of just hard work.
Yeah.
You know, like put it all out there, like right away, and kind of have an idea for yourself of where you want to be after college.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you don't, like, trust that's okay. You know, like, because whatever journey you go through, like, it's supposed to happen for where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I wish I could have gone to business school now, but you go talk to 18-year-old
Yeah, but then
Scott.
it's like, if you would have been in business school, would you be here? Like, maybe not. Like, you don't know. Like, it's, and I think I'm a big believer in it. Like, if I would have been in nursing school, like, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
You know, like, if I would have done what everybody else was doing, you know, like, I would not be a real estate agent. So I think the biggest thing I have to tell them is just trust the journey.
Yeah.
Just trust it.
I like that, because you tell 18-year-old Scott to go to business school, I'm going to tell you no. I'm going to.
Right.
I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
You could have told me that then, although I wish I could have.
Right.
Let's be real. I probably wouldn't have taken the advice, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And sometimes, whether someone's listening to this or, you know, you go in front of students and talk, or someone else does, sometimes it just doesn't go through yet because they're not thinking that way. So I know it's tough. My advice would be, think about the future a little bit more beyond the sport. And they say that all the time, but hopefully they now, because before when I was there playing football, they would bring somebody in that didn't play sports, and they'd be like, you need to think about life after sports. But I hope that they brought in Deion Branch to help out with a lot of stuff there at University of Louisville, which I'm extremely excited to have him there, because I know he can do so much. But hopefully it's just because he can relate, and those players can relate back to him.
Right.
And that's what I think a lot of,
it's important. Yeah. Like to have somebody come in that just doesn't play sports and say, be prepared for what comes after. It's like, you have no idea.
Yeah. You don't know what we're going through right now.
You just don't understand. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hey, I want to wrap things up just because we want to be mindful of our listeners, but I appreciate you being on here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a blast.
And I'm excited about your real estate career going forward, just because I know you've set some big goals. And you joining my team was mainly just like, I know she can crush it. A little kickstart, and you're going to have one hell of a year and career. I mean, beyond just this year. No. So,
yeah, I have you to thank for it. So
no, not necessarily. Just a little kickstart.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to the listeners who are here today. If you're a former or current athlete, feel free to reach out to us anyway. I'm happy to connect, happy to network. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, invest, or anything like that, reach out to Caitlin Freudenberger. She's a go-getter. She'll get it done for you. I know that. So thanks again to our listeners.
Thanks,
Until
guys.
next time.
Thanks, Scott.
I'd like to thank all of you listeners for tuning in. Please click the subscribe button to continue hearing the inside stories of your favorite athletes. And I always love feedback, so leave a review or a comment to let us know what you're thinking about the show. Once again, thank you all for listening. Until next time, I'm Scott Radcliff, your host of Suited Up.